King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard is a band that has released a lot of albums. 20 albums in 11 years. If you haven't done the math, that is a lot of albums. This is the sole reason why I've never dove into this band, because I feel like I'm too late to the party and I don't know where to start. But that changes today. I'm going to be listening to every single King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard album until I have developed a formal opinion of the band, and you guys are going to watch it happen right before your very eyes. You're going to see me develop an opinion of this band within the next 20 days, and we're going to be starting with Paper Mache Dream. Shut up! Obviously, this guy knows nothing about the band. He's a dumbass. I'm the fun facts guy, and I'm ready to give you guys some fun facts. Thanks to Mayor or Failure on the Discord, who made a write-up that was way too fucking long, but I read all of it, and I got so many fun facts. Thank you, Mayor or Failure. That was really nice of you. A couple of fun facts to start us off. Band is a 7-piece band. They're Aussies, good eye mite, and one of the members started a label called Flightless so they could release all their music independently. You guys probably already knew all that. Back to the video. Alright, so I listened to Paper Mache Dream Balloon, not whatever the hell I called it yesterday. I don't know where I got that title from. I think this is an album that's going to be my rotation for the next week or so because I really enjoyed this album. I know this is not the typical sound of King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, but I really do hope that I get more elements of these psychedelic folk songs and other albums from them. The title of the album does a perfect job of describing what the album sounds like. Paper Mache seems like a pretty organic way of making art, and this album's all done by acoustic instruments. That sounds pretty organic to me. Dream Balloon has like this super psychedelic fun vibe to it, and that's the vibe of the album. It's just psychedelic and fun. That's me playing the flute. That's because this album was inspired by the fact that Stu wanted to learn how to play the flute, or was learning how to play the flute. So he basically told everyone, hey, we're gonna make an acoustic album now so I can show off my very cool flute skills. Now watch me as I flute away. I'm going to keep listening to this album because I really enjoyed it, and I'm also going to be checking out Oddments for no reason other than the fact that the album cover looks super sick. Oddments is pretty cool, I got to admit. The biggest difference between these two albums, other than the actual sound of the album, because Oddments is obviously a lot more fuzzy, the biggest difference is the mood shifts. There's a lot of sudden mood shifts in Oddments. With Paper Mache, every song kind of more or less felt like I was frolicking through a magical forest, and that's kind of what you get with each song, more or less. But with this album, you never really know. Each song can shift very drastically within each song, which is not a bad thing. I think it keeps you on your toes, and it's a much more engaging listen that way. Hey, you dumbass! The reason why Oddments sounds like that is because it's an album of outtakes. There's songs from all over the place on this thing. You got songs from here, you got songs from there, there's songs from everywhere. So now I think I'm pretty aware of what the band is capable of when it comes to making songs that are 3 to 4 minutes long, but I'm very curious to see what they can do with a 10-minute song. So that's why the next album I'm going to be checking out is Quarters. Quarters was okay. It's pretty jammy, but it's probably just going to be like background music for me. But Sketches from Brunswick East, this album is goated, dude. This is a collaboration with Mild High Club. I've listened to a couple of their tracks before, but I was just more curious about how they would implement a collaboration into their sound. Honestly, I couldn't tell. If you didn't tell me that Mild High Club was a part of this, I wouldn't know. I want to highlight one track in specific. The whole album is great, but this one track, Planes, Cranes, and Migraines, I listened to this track 3 times in a row last night because it's so short. I just kept wanting more of it. Yeah, this album is great. Yeah. Alright, I got a lot of updates because I've done a lot of driving in the past couple days. I did a lot of waiting in the jury duty waiting room. It was not fun, but King Gizzard kept me occupied. First things first, Fishing for Fishies, banger album. It's very groovy. It's very bluesy. I like the vibes of the lyrics in there. A lot of environmental lyrics in there. I listened to it the first time when I was driving on the freeway, and I felt like a freaking badass. This album made my small Chevy Spark feel like an all-American F-150 Ford machine. Baby. The last 3 songs are probably my favorite songs that I've heard from the band until I heard Head On / Pill off of Float Along, Fill Your Lungs. That song is 15 minutes and it is a groove and a half. The entire album is really good too, but nothing as good as that first track. The first track and the last track of Fill Your Lungs is the best tracks on the album. I listened to their first 2 albums. This one's an EP. This one, 12 Bar Bruise, that's their actual first album. They both kind of have similar vibes, just kind of like lo-fi-ish, psychedelic, surfer rock. Hey, shut up, you idiot! 12 Bar Blues, fun fact, was recorded in a garage with 4 iPhones, kind of spread out throughout the room. Insane. 12 Bar Blues was the first collaboration with this dude named Jason Galia. He's basically another member of the band doing all the visual arts, album covers, music videos, merch. One thing I want to mention about the band as a whole so far is that I'm 8 albums in. I'm almost halfway through their discography, and I'm not bored yet. I am still incredibly excited to check out what else this band has to offer, because I've noticed that every single album pretty much has its own vibe. These guys are some very talented musicians. Goodness gracious. I listened to 12 Bar Bruise a couple more times. It's growing on me quite a bit. I don't know why I called it surfer rock. I don't really think this would be classified as surfer rock. I listened to this album while skating the other day, and it was a perfect vibe. A lot of these songs just kind of sound like straight from a Tony Hawk's Pro Skater game soundtrack. I also listened to Eyes Like the Sky. I listened to this thing once, and I will never listen to it again. It's a cool vibe. It's like a spaghetti western audiobook type thing. But like most books, you only read them once. Hey, hold your horses! Fun fact for you, the narration of this album was done by Ambrose's dad. It was also played through a guitar amp, so that's why it sounds the way it sounds. If you've heard the album, you know that it does not sound pretty. I also listened to Infest the Wrath's Nest. I heard that this was like their heaviest album that they've ever done. And I'm not like a heavy metal guy or a metal guy. This was something that was pretty out of my comfort zone, so I felt like diving into it. It was okay. I wasn't able to pick up on a lot of the lyrics on this. I know there's a lot of like environmental lyrics and some cool space lyrics it sounded like in there. I was on a walk while I was listening to this album, which I will admit, not the right choice for a thrash metal album. I don't know. Maybe I'll check this out again sometime in the future and update you guys. For now, I'm not a fan. You never actually listened to this thing again. But Mayor of Failure did tell me the story of this album. The story of this album sounds absolutely incredible. Too bad I will probably never listen to it again. I'm gonna be checking out their microtonality series because I have no idea what the hell microtonality means. This dumbass didn't figure out what it was, but this dumbass knows what it is. Microtones are the notes played in between notes. So this thing right here is a bass guitar. This is a fret. They have frets right there. All right, squad, I listened to each of these 3 albums 3 different times. I'm gonna start with the album that I liked the least amount, and that is the Banana album. All the songs on this album pretty much have this like really awesome driving rhythm to it. Like it all sounds really great and really fun. Also, by the way, Nuclear Fusion, one of the best King Gizzard songs like ever. My issue with this album is the fact that a lot of these songs just kind of sound pretty similar. Like stylistically, the album did not change at all. Every song kind of basically blends in with each other. Don't throw your bananas at me though. I mean, the album is still good. KG and LW are banger albums. These 2 albums solves the issue that I had with the Banana album. You never know what you're gonna get with the songs on this album. Like you can get like a folky song, you can get a funky song, you can get a nice rock song, a hard rock song, maybe a heavy song, maybe some Middle Eastern dance song. Was not expecting that off of KG, but that's my favorite song off this record. Fight me about it, dude. Both these albums are extremely fun to listen to. On the first listen, it's extremely engaging because, like I said, you don't know what style you're gonna get with each song. Oh, if you look at this and this, that means that this album was made during the pandemic. Dun, dun, dun. That's probably why the styles of these songs are kind of all over the place. Also, apparently the track credits are all over the place as well. I'm starting to notice that these guys like to sing a lot about the environment and how we're ruining it, which not a problem. I mean, I agree. We're fucking up the environment like no other species on this planet. Gumboot Soup, despite having a great name, is not a great album, I will admit. It's okay. It's just kind of inconsistent, which I guess makes sense because I guess this was made with a bunch of material that didn't fit into the rest of the 2017 album lineup. There are some bangers though. I do like Sleepin' In. That's a great track. I mean, whatever this song is. I also checked out Butterfly 3000, and this album is a banger album. One of my favorites, I think, so far. I just love the dreamy synth pop vibe with it. We're coming into the summer vacation here, and this feels like a summer vacation album. This is a summer album for sure. I'm a butterfly. There's a music video for every single song on this album. There's also a remix album. So I listened to I'm in Your Mind, and I thought it was okay. The first 4 tracks were fantastic. I really enjoyed the way they all transitioned into each other. The energy never stopped. It was really great. The last 2 tracks after that were also really good. After that, though, I kind of got a little bored. By the second half of the album, I lost a lot of interest in what was happening in the music and in the lyrics. I listened to it, and I'm still willing to listen to it, but it's just not as strong as that first half. You know, I'm in Your Mind, Fuzz was actually the album that gave the band international recognition for the first time. They toured the US for the very first time after this. Let me know in the comments if you've made it to their first US tour. I also listened to Nonagon Infinity Opens the Door. That album has no problems at all, honestly. In my opinion, I think that album is incredible. 40 minutes of straight up psychedelic rock with some other like influences in there that are popping in from like time to time. It just sounds incredible. I mean, these 40 minutes flies by. Like, I've never had 40 minutes fly by so quickly. Hey Kyle, you know, it makes sense that you like Nonagon Infinity more because the entire world enjoyed Nonagon Infinity more, because this is the album that really blew them up. You know, this is their 1 million Orbeez video. You call yourself a King Gizzard fan? I bet your favorite album is Nonagon Infinity. The way each song transitions into each other is so sick. After that last song, I queued up the first song. Once I heard that transition, I was like, holy shit, you really can't just listen to this album again and again and again and again. Alright, and this is gonna be a hot take. I did not like Murder of the Universe. I listened to it once. I wasn't a big fan of it, but I thought, hey, maybe it's because I just listened to Mind Fuzz and Nonagon back to back and this album, so maybe I'm just gizzed out for the day. And then the next day I tried listening to it again, and I ended up turning it off before the first part of the album was even done. I don't get the story. I mean, I know it's a part of like the Gizzverse thing, but I don't necessarily care to look into it. It feels so fucking cheesy to me. The music itself is cool, but that's not the priority of the album. The priority of the album is the story and what's going on within the lyrics, and I don't like it at all. Alright, so I just listened to Timeland, and I want to talk about this while it's fresh on my mind, because this is like the most experimental thing I've heard King Gizzard make, I feel like. This is 2 15-minute songs, but in reality, it's just like a 30-minute experience. It seems like they're taking a lot of EDM inspiration here, but then also just a lot of like, there's a lot of non-EDM stuff in here. It was such an interesting listen. I listened to the final 2 albums of my journey, Polygonwana Land. This album is probably the most interesting album that the band has ever made, or if we're not counting Timeland. Timeland was a different story. In terms of like how interesting the compositions are mixed with the actual lyrics, this album is incredible. I really enjoy the story that this album is depicting. I'm not really a big Giz World guy. I enjoy the story of this album a lot more than Murder the Universe, that's for sure. I really enjoy the atmosphere of the album. The album has this very like cloudy feeling to it. I'm a big fan of those synths, you know, I'm a synth guy. And obviously they got polyrhythms all over this thing. I don't really know what that is, but it's there. Shut the fuck up. I've got another fun fact for you. This album is in the public domain, meaning you, yes, you can print copies of this thing, put it on vinyl, put it on CDs, sell it, make a profit, cha-ching, cha-ching. There's over 300 official releases of this thing on Discogs. I also think that means that anyone can sample it legally. Get on it, musicians. I'd probably say this is my favorite album from the band, to be honest. Definitely a lot better than Omnium Gatherum, whatever it's called. There's a couple of issues with this album. It's super long. It's an hour and 20 minutes long. It also is just filled to the brim with songs that are pretty mid. I'd say probably about half of these songs could have been cut from the album, and the album would have been better for it. There's some great songs on this thing, don't get me wrong. Kepler 22b, that's a great song. I can't think of any other good songs off this album. So after listening to King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard for the past 20 days or so, there's 2 things. I'm a fan. I'm a big fan. I really like the band. I can't wait to listen to other music. Although if they had another 10 albums, I would gladly listen to those other 10 albums. If you guys want to know my final opinions on each album, here's a chart. The ones that I absolutely love, the ones that I wouldn't mind listening to again, and the ones that I hate, that I will never touch again. Go ahead and study it. There's going to be a quiz at the end of this test. Let me know your guys' favorite albums from the band. Let me know your least favorite album from the band. Give me your hot takes in the comments. I want to read them. And thank you so much for watching.